Welcome into the Hustle Show podcast for Wednesday, August 9th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Kelly Stewart, Adam Trigger, and Mark Zeno of WagerTalk.com. We got AFC East preview. We got some college football analysis overall. Let's say some conference, Big 12 talk here, UCF, Kansas State. Hopefully we get it from KIV. We got some games of the year coming to you and best bets as well, along with tonight's baseball. We are sponsored, like always, by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Guys, check out vivatequilaseltzer.com. Use the promo code HUSTLE20 at checkout. It takes 20% off your order. We flavored our flavors actually pair perfectly with our artisanal Blanco tequila for a subtle and refreshing drink. Check it out, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Check out Wager Talk live odds screen. It is the best free live odds in the industry. When we quote the lines here, sides and totals, that's what we are looking at. Going around the horn here, Kelly Stewart. Follow her on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas, wagertalk.com. Kelly, welcome on in. Happy Wednesday to you.
Hey, Drew. It's been a crazy Wednesday. Good news for you guys, as I'm very prepared for the show because I just got done shooting all of my videos for the AFC East. Conveniently, Chris Thurston isn't here today. Pretty funny how that works, but we'll let the jokes write themselves. I think I have maybe it's just a dime this year. I'd have to look. We have a dime bet. I think I have under 7.5, which he gave me at even money, which Mark's pretty much 120. So feeling good about my bet thus far.
Yeah, some handshake bets on the Hustle Show podcast. Always welcome. Adam Trigger, he knows something about that. For what, Adam? What a happy hour ticket for about $500, I believe, in Vegas last year. We got to come up with something this year as well. But Adam Trigger, wagertalk.com, at TopFlightSI on Twitter. Welcome in, buddy.
Yeah, Drew, that was still one of the more ridiculous. Like, I had like a 17-point lead in that game. And
yeah,
you remember it was LSU Bama.
Yeah.
LSU was up by like 17, and Bama came out of nowhere to like come back and I think get inside the number. So I lost that one. But I'm really excited about football season, like being around the corner. I too am prepared. Kel's always got her notes. I've got all my notes. I'm coming to you from heaven right now. Apparently.
I swear on everything holy, Adam, if you read all of those notes, I'm just going to hit the end button and get off this show today. I have so much work to do. And
I am in.
And I have a paragraph on each team. You have like 4 pages on each team.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not all each. It's not all each team in the AFC East. I mean, there's more than that. It's just
good. Because I saw that and I was like, no, I'm not ready for this today.
I left my green screen in like the office across town. This is going to be my new office. I finally moved into the new house, and hopefully someday I'll have a nice setup as cool as Kelly's with her little wood paneling back there. But for now, it's an empty room. This wall is actually yellow. It looks white on air, and we'll get it going in here soon. I just didn't have time to go get the green screen, so you've got me in the insane asylum here.
Well, there you have it, guys. From Adam Trigger coming to us from heaven. We're going from heaven to the peach state of Georgia. And Mark Zeno. Zeno, welcome on in, buddy.
Great to be with you. At Kelly's request, I'll be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. And it's good to know that Adam Trigger finally talked himself into a mental institution. Now he's going to talk himself out of it. So there is that, but it's great to be here with you guys on this Wednesday.
Wait, I actually don't even think, Mark, he was done talking. I thought I just talked over you, Trig, but I don't know if I should go back to you.
I was done.
That's how you have to do it, Drew. I already have to do a video with Adam on Friday, and I already said, listen, this is how it's going to be. If it's anything, I'm throwing in the towel. It is too close to football season to be dealing with Adam right now. I love Adam. I suggested a new show.
That's an outrageous statement.
Trash. He got really mad at me. And I said, well, you love the trash games. And he said, no. And I thought like it'd be cool. Like Joe Raniere could get a garbage truck graphic, like going across the front. Like, listen, I was trying to help him out here.
No, so I just hit, cool. Actually, my MLB play, 4%er just hit. It was Rockies plus 1.5. Nice trash play right there. And now I'm going to give out, I'm putting another 4% in, and I'm going to give it out on the show, but you got to wait till the end of the show. But that's what I'm doing over here right now. It's got to go onto the Wager Talk site. So talk to someone else for a sec, Drew. I got to do this. right now.
All right. So rocks plus 1.5. And we don't need to make small talk here, guys. We're going right into it. Let's talk a little AFC East preview. I know Mark Zeno's ready to go. Just tee it up for you guys. Buffalo Bills plus 115, I'm seeing, to win the division. I'm just reading off the future odds here. Jets plus 255, Dolphins plus 300, and Patriots plus 800. So Zeno, I'll start off with you, man. AFC East here. All plus prices. To me, that kind of was a little bit surprising to see the Bills with that plus price. I don't know. Do you like that ticket? What are you liking here in the AFC East? What are your overall thoughts, man?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I'll give out a best bet for this show right now. I'll have another one for later. But best bet, Buffalo Bills to win the East. I got it at plus 130, which is a gift. It's an absolute gift. Like, it's a joke that they are not a minus money favorite to win this division. Like, oh, Kelly's already throwing her hands up. Hang on a second. Speak in a minute there, Queen Lady. Hang on. Let me just get this. I mean, here's the thing. Okay, look, the Jets are going to be much improved. There's no doubt about that. But it is possible that the Jets can be much improved and still only win 9 or 10 games and be a wild card. And the same thing for Miami. And let's just look at how critical the beginning of the season will be to all of these teams in the AFC East. You ready for Buffalo's opening schedule in their 6 games? The toughest game they may play, actually, is the Jets in week 1. But then they get the Raiders. They have to travel to Washington, Miami, Jacksonville, and the Giants all at home, and then New England and Tampa Bay before they face Cincinnati in week 9. So their first 8 games, feasibly, even if they struggle, could be 6-2. As long as they don't lose both division games, they're 6-2 with a leg up in the division on the Jets, whose first 8 games are absolute murder. Buffalo at Dallas, New England, KC at Denver, Philadelphia. Then they get their bye. And then, oh, by the way, after the bye, they got to go play the Giants, which technically is a kind of home game, and the Chargers, 2 playoff teams from last year. The Jets' opening schedule is murder. Miami's is much easier. First 2 games on the road at Chargers and New England. Then they get Denver defense. Then they go to Buffalo, Giants, Carolina, Philadelphia, New England, and at KC before their bye. Like, this just sets up so well for the Buffalo Bills to sprint out to a big lead. I don't know why we get so infatuated with playoff failures equating to next year's regular season lack of success. So what? Josh Allen and the Bills had a bad game in Buffalo at home against Cincinnati. So freaking what? They're still the best team in this division by a wide margin, and it's not close. Buffalo Bills at plus money to take this division is an absolute gift, and I already locked it in.
Like it, Mark. I agree with him, Kelly. I don't know. What are your thoughts here, AFC East?
Here we go.
First, a couple things. Superbook Sports has 10 cents better on the first 2. You can get plus 265 with the Jets. You can get plus, what is it currently? Plus 120 with the Bills over with my good friend John Murray. Look, I'll agree one thing with Mark, right? This is their division until proven otherwise, right? Last year, they lost 3 games by less than a field goal. Here's my caveat. This year, they play Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers twice, and Tua Tagovailoa twice. Now, I am not high on the Jets. Everybody knows. Under 9.5 wins plus 110. I'll be giving out all of these on my videos. I got the Chiefs processing right now. We got to start with the Super Bowl champs. Speaking of Super Bowls, how many years in a row can this team not make the Super Bowl? Like, this is a lot of heartbreak. Now, I agree with Mark. You can't really quantify that. But maybe Josh Allen's not elite. Just maybe. I don't know. Guy turned the ball over 14 times, interceptions, 6 fumbles, 20 times last year. I can't. Plus 120 holds no value for me.
If you tell a coach your quarterback's going to turn the ball over 14 times in interceptions and 6 fumbles, but you're still going to win 13 games, they'll go yes. Because you can count on JPP's right hand the number of teams that win 13 games every year.
And that's fine. I didn't say they're not going to win 11 games. But I don't think they're going to win the AFC East. That's my big caveat here. And I think that it's going to come down to a couple of different games. I do like them, I will say. I like them Monday Night Football Week 9 against the Bengals. I already got them circled. What I like to really do, just so you guys have an idea, is I have a little spreadsheet, and I mark down, like, okay, so that I know going into that next week, okay, here's what I had circled preseason. Let's take a look at it. What happened? Where's the line changed and why? And so may end up on that one or not, but as of right now, it's circled. I like the Dolphins to win the AFC East. And it all is determined on if Tua Tagovailoa can stay healthy. If he can't, I'm screwed. But that's why I don't want to take the season win total. It's sitting at 9.5. Last year, he got sacked a ton. We know that the offensive line has some issues. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, absolutely great. They're going to give their opponents some fits. But the reason why I like Miami to win the East, and this isn't the only reason why, but they're 5.5-point dogs come early October in Buffalo. Like, that doesn't get much better for them. If they have to go to Buffalo in, like, December, completely different scenario. That's a very winnable game for them. 3-1 at the Superbook and pretty much across the board on the Wager Talk odds screen for Miami to win the AFC East. I think it's worth a sprinkle because I do think that there are several correlating factors here. If Tua stays healthy, if the Bills do what I think they're going to do because of their tough schedule, which we haven't even talked about the Pats' tough schedule yet. I'm low on the Jets. I have their season win total under. Miami makes a lot of sense at 3-1 for me, Drew. Not a crazy bet, but enough of one to give me something to cheer for this year.
No, love the analysis. And Mark, let me just jump in here because Eric, is that in my ear or was that the Kelly's microphone? Okay, Kelly, yeah, do you mind just resetting real quick? Mark, to Kelly's point here, let me bounce this off of you. I mean, looking at the Dolphins' schedule, man, I don't think it's that easy, but to Kelly's point, I mean, if Tua is able to stay healthy, that
yes, it's a big part of it. But I'll add this to what Kelly said. You know, like the fact that she said, "Hey, you got to go to Buffalo in September." That's a big win. Buffalo has to go to Miami in December. That's a big win for them.
In January.
Last year's September, you could tell in the fourth quarter of that game. Remember, they lost 19-17. Josh Allen was gassed. He missed an easy pass on the goal line to win the game. You could tell that Buffalo was spent physically from playing in that heat. So it benefits both those teams, right? Buffalo goes to Miami. It's still going to be hot in Miami in December, but it's not going to be 100 degrees hot. It'll be 85 degrees hot, but there's a big difference. So when I factored that same exact thing into the equation when I looked at these two teams and said, okay, it'll benefit them both. Yes, Miami doesn't have to be in Buffalo in snow, but Buffalo doesn't have to be in Miami in 105-degree heat.
Yeah, arguments to be made both ways there, KIV. I mean, I guess it does kind of favor the Dolphins a little bit more. If you made me like over the past, decade or two, Kelly, I would say the Dolphins going up in snow is a little bit tougher of an ask than the Bills coming down, in September rather than January.
When's the last time you've been to, what do they call it now, Hard Rock Stadium? Drew, I was there last September. I wanted to die.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was so ungodly hot.
It's awful.
I was behind the Miami bench, which is in the shade.
Yeah. It's miserable.
Tailgating, walking in from a million miles away, and then sitting in the shade, I was like, I can't do this the whole game. Like, this is hard. And I'm not out there pushing around 300-pound linemen. I mean, that is one of the things that I actually upgraded after going to that game. I said, man, I got to give Miami a little bit more of a home field advantage. I know we don't talk much about it in the NFL like we do in college, but that is an absolute detriment. And so Mark's right. That is something I overlooked. Buffalo, Miami, probably pick them, maybe Buffalo -1, depending on how, the first 17 weeks go. But you're right. Florida in December is much better than Florida in September.
Oh, yeah. You're learning that as a new Floridian.
Listen, I was at the Dolphins.
Oh, did you decide to join us? Are you done? Did you up 4%
yes.
say to Wager Talk yet?
Okay,
thanks for joining us.
I did, and I'm going to make the people wait till the end of the show to figure out what it is. But I went to the Dolphins-Bills game on Saturday night in Orchard Park last year, and I have to say, the Dolphins, so I sat 10 rows behind the Dolphins bench as they got pelted with snowballs the entire game. And they were the entire bench was so much more concerned with the snow that was getting thrown at them than they were with the actual game. That that was just something I noticed when I was there is dude, it's just, have you ever seen snow before? They were so they thought it was just wild that they were getting hit with snowballs by Bills fans. It's that should just be standard. I don't know which is the harder home field advantage. And I got to be honest, I lean with Kelly here in terms of Dolphins to win the division just based on the price, because I have the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins all relatively the same. I think it could be any of those three. I think the Jets could be up against it early with their schedule. If the Jets don't come out slinging early and win one of these games, that schedule the first 6 weeks or so is tough for them. They have a really difficult schedule up front. But I don't know. I look at these three teams, Dolphins, Jets, Bills, and I can't separate them that much. Like, I just can't. What did he say? Over 4-minute breakdown? I don't know. It depends how far we go here. My only take in this division that I really just believe wholeheartedly, and I'll probably bet against this in some fashion, is the Patriots are one of the worst 5 teams in football. I really think the Patriots could be a bottom 5 team this year. They have huge issues on the offensive line that have now started to come out of camp. Like, it was on paper, it was like, okay, they're going to have offensive line issues, but now you're hearing reports of that out of training camp. I think this could be a total rebuild year for the Patriots, where they're just, kind of getting some young guys out there, seeing what they can do. The Patriots, I think they could, like, there's no way if you have people, I heard people like sprinkle on the Pats, 8-1, whatever. That's a terrible decision. The New England Patriots are not winning this division. They're not going to come close. In my opinion, Kelly's art should just pick up her money now from CT Bets, because I don't think they're going to come close to their win total either. They're a bad, and even Belichick and his staff are not going to save how poor that roster is, in my opinion. So that's my only real take here. AFC East, Patriots, one of the worst teams in football. I really honestly think they end up like a 5-win team.
I hope it's that easy. I really do. I've had to sweat it every single year. I think I've been betting CT this. I think I went for the first 3 years. I got some money back last year. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more back this year. They have a really tough schedule, Adam. And that's my biggest concern. Now, I was talking to Dan Livschatz and Chris when I was in Boston about this team. And I said, okay, I get it. Matt Patricia was an atrocious offensive coordinator. But how much of it maybe is Bill being set in his ways? And they said, absolutely not. Nothing has to do with Bill. It is all 100% Patricia. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to find out, because last year they didn't win a single game versus the Dolphins or Bills. And like Mark said, the Jets are going to be better. I don't think the Jets are going to win 10 games, but the Jets are going to be better. And Mac Jones, he's terrible as an underdog, especially as like a short underdog. So he's a short underdog.
Here's the Patriots, guys. If the defense is anything like it was last year, they're going to be in close games. Like, that's the only thing saving them. I don't know how much better. They lose a couple of players, obviously, but that's really the bread and butter of this entire team. That will keep them in games. And guess what? I mean, in reality, for as much as we hate Bill Belichick's running back by committee and fantasy nerds everywhere hate it, the reality is that it works. Between Ramondre Stevenson and Devin Harris, right? What's his name? Damian Harris. They have a bunch of stable backs and the short passes out of the backfield. Belichick's been doing it for years. It's not pretty. It doesn't work, but it keeps them in games. And Drake,
but don't you need an offensive line? Don't you need an offensive line to run the ball, though? That's my thing. They have no offensive line. Sure. I don't know how they're going to running back by committee with no O-line. That's just – and O'Brien probably helped Mac Jones long-term. Like, I think that could be a beneficial pairing for Mac Jones, but there's too many holes on the roster. There's too much lack of quality on the roster where I don't think – that's just I just don't think he can – but I don't think Belichick can push all the right buttons with this roster. That's why I'm so sort of down on the Pats.
Here's my question that I have for all of you guys. If Belichick has another losing season, do you think that Robert Kraft gets rid of him? I mean, it's Bill Belichick.
No, I don't think so. He might step down.
Know. There's a lot of talking heads all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I've been on a lot lately, and they all seem to think so.
Could you see Belichick just staying off the sidelines and staying in the GM role, going, okay, I'll stop coaching, but and that's the way he sort of takes a small step back without retiring and then slowly exfils himself out. I could see that scenario coming, saying, look, I'm just going to go back to I'll be the GM and put the roster together, and we'll put a new coach there. And kind of like Arians did in Tampa Bay, right? After he won the Super Bowl, I'm going to go work in the front office and watch the team suck from there, so it can't be my fault.
Yeah, that would be a tough firing. I don't know. Maybe it could be, but I think he steps down in some fashion. Hey, shout out to Michael but on Twitter before we got going here, guys. He was saying not to get on his Patriots too much in the show. I'll just say this, Michael. Like, there's also a type of going after the betting markets, and if you're going to take a future 8-1, like Trig was kind of jumping on. I would do it more so like plus 700 with the Jaguars last season in the AFC South division. They're not going to have to hop over like multiple teams. Going into last year, it was really just the Titans division to win. So therefore, if one team comes down, another team can jump up. In the AFC East, I would almost kind of structure it as there's 3 really good teams. Are all 3 of them going to drop down? I wouldn't think so as much. I think that becomes part of the bet as well. And guys, I don't know if we've talked enough about the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback coming in. Does anybody just kind of want to give thoughts here on how this works out? One thing I will say is I think it benefits the teams going against the Jets early in the season before they can really mesh. That's one thing I would look to, maybe go against the Jets and then look to go on them. But yeah, anybody else want to throw in anything before we move to college?
Yeah, absolutely.
To that
go
point,
ahead, Mark.
Go ahead. All right, to that point real quick. I mean, here's the thing. I think 2 things can absolutely be true. I think Aaron Rodgers is primed for a huge bounce-back season. I'm talking like 3,800 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I think absolutely he is primed for that kind of season again. That can be true, and the Jets can still only win 9 games can also be true because, like you said, Drew, it may take them a couple of weeks to get the offense moving to where they want it to be against the toughest part of their schedule in the early part of the year. And guess what? In the early part of that season, they need to be nearly flawless to win all those games. Like if they get through the first 8 games, the Jets at 3-5, I would absolutely take it as a Jet fan. Given the opponents they have and where that, I mean, even the light part, you still got to beat New England, which has always been tough for the Jets. And then you have to go to Denver to play what still maybe one of the best 5 defenses in the league.
Denver is the game that I've already got circled. And Mark, you nailed it. That's exactly, there are going to be some spots where you can bet against this Jets team because you've seen what Aaron Rodgers does, and they do start off slow every single year. And maybe we can blame some of that on the Packers. And I'm going to say this at the risk of getting roasted. Aaron Rodgers is about to be 40 years old. Now, Brett Favre left Green Bay at 40 and won a playoff game in Minnesota. So I'm not saying he can't. But last year, he did not have a single game where he threw over 300 yards. And for the first time since 2008, he threw almost a pick every single game. I mean, that's not Aaron Rodgers-esque. Maybe we can talk all the things in the world, right? Ayahuasca, smoking weed, man bun, all these midlife crisis things. We can blame it all on Green Bay. But those things don't just go away because he moved to New Jersey, right? If Aaron Rodgers is still in his own head about a couple of things, there's got to be a shift for himself personally. I don't know. Also, I don't care what anybody says. I know that the Lions broke it last year, but the hard knock curse is still real.
I like his little handshake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The smoke whatever thing they did. Yeah.
That was good.
Before we move on from NFL, someone wanted an 8-1 division winner. Houston Texans. There's your 8-1 division winner. Don't mess with the Patriots. They have no chance. The Texans, I know we're not talking about the division, but the Texans have in my opinion, a exponentially better chance to win the AFC South than the Patriots would to win the AFC East. So you want 8-1, roll the dice.
This is what I want. I want somebody, whoever can figure this out, maybe it's a Ralph database question. When was the last time we had a defensive-minded coach that was actually successful in the new NFL? Because as a Broncos fan, we've had Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, both defensive-minded guys, and they made me want to rip my eyeballs out.
I mean, can we give John Harbaugh a nod as a special teams guy first? I mean, he's a non-offensive guy if that's what you're looking for.
That's fair, but like DeMarco Ryans may be great. That's hard. It's a really hard thing to say. I don't know.
I think for me there, Cal, it's more the willingness to fade the other 3 teams at 8-1.
Did I say that wrong?
D'Amico Ryans, and it's just for me, it's more it'd be more the willingness. It's almost the counter argument to the Patriots, right? Like the Patriots, I don't want to go up against the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins. Whereas with the Texans, right? Like we're talking about beating the other 3 teams in your division. With the Texans, I'd be happy to take 8-1 to go up against the Colts, Jaguars, and Titans. That's really like the argument one against the other there for me.
Mike Vrabel got to an AFC Championship game a couple of years ago, if that counts.
I love Mike Vrabel, though.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I think, by the way, while you talk about the South, the Jaguars are the most overrated team in the league right now. They're the most overhyped, overrated team in the league right now.
Minus 155 to win their division.
It's insane that they're minus 155 and the Bills are plus 120, 130. Like, that's just insane pricing.
Well, they have to. Everybody is just hammering the Jets at like plus, like Drew said, I go, you can get 10 cents better somewhere else. And I opened up a couple of accounts, and everywhere it's like they're inundated with Jets money. So the bookmakers have no option.
And they have to put the Bills there because the Jets and the Dolphins, the ceiling on those two teams is both like top 5 type. I mean, if things play out in their favor, the Jets and the Dolphins are both Super Bowl contenders for as far as the ceiling is concerned. So the Bills can't be more than like plus whatever because you have 2 potential Super Bowl contenders in their division. Now, obviously, all 3 of those teams can't be Super Bowl contenders most likely in the same division. They're going to beat up on each other. But to say that the Bills are more of a the Jets and the Dolphins are both really good. One of them will probably be a victim of their schedule and a victim of something happening. Like just one of them is going to have something bad happen, right? Like that's just how it works, and probably fall off a little bit. But those 3 teams, the ceiling for those 3 teams is all Super Bowl, in my opinion. Bills, Jets, and Dolphins are on a short list, in my opinion, to contend in the AFC. It's just a matter of which one has it pan out and which one doesn't.
I mentioned this earlier, and again, this is a pricing thing for me. We focus too much on postseason failures or successes as a measure of how we price teams the next season. If the Jaguars, okay, if Brandon Staley isn't an idiot and a moron kicker makes a field goal, the Jaguars never win that game and they're out in the first round, and we're not pricing them like they're the team that they are right now. But because they went to the next round,
Brandon Staley is an idiot, right?
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, if they don't win that game, the same way if the Cowboys don't lose the way they lose, and again, the Bills don't lose the way they lose, we're looking at these teams totally differently right now. And for some reason, we tie that postseason failure or success into a 17-game sample size going forward, and that's a bad way to do things because what happens in the postseason is not always indicative of who you are in the regular season or who you'll be the following season.
All good points there, Mark. And Kelly, I was going to bring up to your point. You bring up coaches in the NFL on the defensive side not really having success of late. How about I was almost thinking in college, it's like the defensive coaches are so underrated. Look at the top coaches, and everybody talks about, it's so much sexier to be on the offensive side and you can climb the ladder faster, which you can of late. But it seems like the guys that dominate in college are on the defensive side. So I thought that was an interesting kind of turn of events from NFL to college as we try to turn the page as well.
I've thought about, but you're absolutely right, Drew. I mean, that's where the defenses win championships, right? And not too we saw a defense win a Super Bowl in Denver, but that's only because they had an offensive coordinator and Peyton Manning literally on the field. That offense wasn't great, but he was able to change the plays and nobody was in his helmet telling him what to do, right? He had full control over that offense. So it's kind of, I would put an asterisk next to defenses win championships, but you're right. Like in the world of Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, that league, even, I'll put Josh Allen in there. I'll put Tua in there. I'll put Justin Herbert in there. I'll even put Trevor Lawrence in there because he has a great arm. It's not the point. But I will say this, I think the NFL shift is because that's what the fan bases want. They want to see more points. Yeah. They want to see excitement. They want to see touchdowns scored. And that's why we've seen over, just since I've been in this industry for like the last 12 or 13 years, the totals just get higher and higher and higher every single year. And that's because coaches know what people want. That's why everybody in America hates soccer, because nobody wants a 0-0 game. And that's why, NHL has made the nets smaller and the pads smaller on the goalies, because people like goals. People like scoring. For whatever reason, that's what they're entertained by. And so the NFL has really maybe stopped putting so much hype into the defensive side of the ball. I don't know, but I can just tell you, just from my own personal experience, defensive coaches that I've backed, at least within the last 3 or 4 years, it's just not been good for me.
No, not at all, Kelly. And one thing I'll add is, like, structurally speaking, the rules changes have all favored the offense as well. And then that's kind of come into the betting markets. Last thing here, I guess Houston, New England, Thursday, we're getting a couple questions. We got Minnesota, Seattle as well, NFLX. I like the Patriots and the Texans to the under. To Mark's point, I mean, the Patriots defense, not to mention, guys, in the sport of football, defense, reactionary, offense, timing based. I'm looking unders early, particularly in the NFL preseason. That's just kind of where my eyes go. But anybody want to throw in anything NFLX?
Yeah, I'm just betting whatever Ralph Michaels
Can I
has.
read up? So, I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't want, like, I know what's gotten hit by, like, respected money. Some of it's probably moved, but I think it's helpful for people handicapping preseason football. So if it's okay, I'm sure someone out there will flip out that some of these are moved and you're giving out stale info or whatever. But
no,
again,
Trick, you're giving out their info because they're the
their
originators,
info.
remember?
Right, exactly. Again, let me make this very clear. I just know that these sides and totals have gotten sharp action so far this week. Now, it's NFL preseason. All of these games move. Some of them get bought back. You might see some of these get hit late on the other side. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But like for me and the way I sort of handicap, like once I start to see this, like I may not be on, like I typically try not to bet into this stuff because, the groups that are moving it tend to do pretty well in the NFL preseason. So I'm just going to read them off. These all have taken action at some point this week. It's definitely sharp. Do what you will with it. Jaguars -2.5. Again, that's long gone, but just know that they hit Jags -2.5. Over in the Titans game, Packers -3. Texans like all the way up to 3. That got played a couple of different times on the money line, and then again at 3. Jaguars Cowboys over 35. Steelers at money line and at -1.5. And did I miss any other ones? Oh, Giants Lions under 37. So again, some of them probably moved, but that's just like, we're going into week 1. It's hard to handicap this stuff. So I would say, as you're making your list and handicapping, maybe don't bet into those, right? Because, at least respected money is on those sides, and do what you will with it.
So Ralph Michaels, NFLX from Kelly. I don't disagree there, guys. He's been tearing them up. Check him out, wagertalk.com. Zeno, anything else? Excuse me. I actually listened to a Hustle. It was a great episode on the plane down to Costa Rica. And I've been pronouncing your last name wrong for how long now? And you haven't corrected me?
About 2 years.
Why not? It's like when you have something in your teeth and none of your friends tell you have it and you figure it out when you go to the bathroom. You got to tell your friend.
Well, I mean, so when we started working together, Drew, you and I on another network, and you said it once, and I actually did correct it once. I don't think you caught on to it, but I'm just like, it's no big deal. And then, I just kind of, over the years, just let Drew be Drew. And so it's fine.
Here's the synopsis. Mark looks big and scary, but he's just a nice guy. Like, he's just not he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. He doesn't want to interrupt people. He doesn't want to be mean to Trig. Like, I don't even know why he comes on this show, frankly, because it's just a complete and utter unmitigated disaster.
So, yeah, I mean, technically it's Zeno, but if you want to say Zeno, Drew, you're not the first person. You won't be the last to make that, mispronunciation, but, whatever. I mean, I've been called a lot worse. I've been called a lot more names than that I wouldn't tolerate. So Zeno is fine. You do Drew Martin, because Drew Martin is the best Drew Martin and Drew Martin is. So there you go.
But Drew Martin's really hard to butcher. Maybe, Drew, when you go to Mexico, do they call you Drew Martin? Do they make it with a Spanish accent?
Martin?
Oh, yeah. No, well, I do that myself because I want to fit in and I don't want to get gringoed. So, I'm Andres Martin when I'm south of the border for sure. Sunglasses, hat, long sleeves. I'm trying to fit in as much as possible using my Spanish. Yeah, and I'll tell you this, one thing I'm used to, if you have a unique American name like Drew, not Andrew, not Andres, Drew, and you say that to a Spanish-speaking person, no chance they're pronouncing that correctly. So I've just learned to just say, hey, my name is Martin, or hey, my name is Andres. There's no Drew south of the border. So kind of side note. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm going with is, yeah, guys, good conversation here. NFL-wise, we got college football. We got best bets. I know we were trying to be quick, Kelly. Sorry we kind of went long there, but hey, I asked you to look into something.
Long, just not Trig. Trig's on a time. He's on a time constraint. We're working on things new. Actually, our broadcast coach, Jill, just called me. I had a text her and said, hey, I'm over here just chastising Adam the entire show about how long he talks.
Okay. All right. So Jill's getting in on the mix as well. I've seen her on your Instagram. You guys always having a good time. Hey, I asked you Kansas State UCF, and the reason why I was just at a family reunion. Half my family went to UCF. They didn't shut up about the dang Golden Knights there in Orlando. By the way, did you know top of the 2024 Big 12 recruiting class is UCF and Gus Malzahn. So watch out here, Big 12 conference. If they're going to be getting out rostered by the Florida team, that was surprising to me, Kelly. And guess what? Welcome to the Big 12. UCF, you're on the road at the Big 12 champion. Welcome on in. It's funny how that just kind of worked out. But what are your overall thoughts here, Kansas State in this upcoming season?
So this year for UCF, I think that they're going to surprise some people. So my notes are very basic. I think they're going to be the newcomer of the year in the Big 12, which if you look at Houston, if you look at Cincinnati, okay, it's not saying a lot. But I do think UCF is going to be great for recruiting in the state of Florida. And I do think they're going to be able to compete with Florida State, with Miami, and with the Gators. And that's because now they are in a Power 5 conference. If they were able to do so prior, I'm excited to see kind of how Gus Malzahn does in the Big 12. Now, granted, obviously he was at Auburn in the SEC, so he's probably going to be just fine. But it is a different style of play, right? We talked about defense. K-State is one of the only teams that likes to play defense, it feels like. But as far as UCF's schedule this year goes, real easy. They have Kent State, Boise State, Villanova. But then on September 23rd, they go to Manhattan. Now, Kansas State's going to be off that Troy game, which I think is going to be an absolute and utter dogfight. K-State's currently an 8.5-point favorite, at least in my numbers, over UCF. I think it's going to be a really good game. K-State is getting a lot of hype. I was really happy today to see Brent McMurphy not put them in their top 25, thank God. And that is because I really think K-State thrives in the underdog role, and they may take that personally and not screw around and lose to a team like Tulane at home this year as 13.5-point favorites. That's about what they're going to be over Troy. But as far as UCF goes, I think that they have a tough road schedule because they're at Oklahoma, at Kansas State, at Texas Tech. They will be a coin flip by my numbers at Kansas. Looks like KU selling some tickets. We're going to find out. It's not like they have some like home atmosphere, but there could be actually people there for a change. And so it might be a tough game, but I will be cheering for the Knights in that one. At Texas Tech looks interesting because I love the Texas Tech over 7.5 wins that I gave out a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to need Texas Tech to win that game. As of right now, I have them slated as a 3.5-point favorite, but we'll see how things pan out. But as far as K-State goes, listen, I have a tough schedule, and UCF's one of those tougher teams on that schedule this year. But we got to see what Plumlee Jr.'s got under his sleeve. I don't know if I'm sold on him. We'll see if he's got the capabilities to go into Manhattan, one of the loudest environments in the Big 12, and be able to squeak out a win. It's happened plenty of times before against teams that were not supposed to go in there and win. I can attest to that.
We're just a couple of weeks away from college football. Trig, jump in here, man. What's on your mind, CFB?
Well, I'll stay in the Big 12. I have a couple opinions there. I kind of agree with Kelly. I think as far as the newcomers are concerned, I think UCF shows the most promise. Kansas State's season win total feels like an under to me. I don't know if they get to 9 wins. The strongest opinion I probably have in the Big 12, I'm not high on BYU. I think their season win total goes under. I played that under 5.5. I think it was 5.5. Forget what the juice was on that. But, Kelly and I talked about this on Saturday on our Wager Talk Last Call show. That's my sort of, strongest opinion Big 12 wise. I think BYU, after their schedule is really difficult. And even if you give them the 2 wins early, Sam Houston, Southern Utah, I just like the only other 2 games on their schedule that look like wins, in my opinion, which aren't even guaranteed wins, is Iowa State and Cincinnati. And I don't think it would be a stretch if they lost one of those games. I just don't think those are games that people think they should win, but they're not gimmies by any means. And I've never been a fan of Kalani Sitake. I think he benefited immensely from COVID and the year where BYU ended up with this cupcake schedule and Zach Wilson torching everyone and went 11-1 and then sort of parlayed that into a good 2021. But they took a big step back last year. The defense was atrocious. Yes, they got a new guy in there. It could be better. But, man, Now they move to the Big 12. There's just a lot of rebuild here, in my opinion. And then, they bring in like Keaton Slovis will be there as the quarterback, but that was the one thing BYU did well last year was move the ball. They didn't have a hard time moving the ball. Jaron Hall was fine. And, the offense wasn't the problem. So I think they just sort of like swap like quarterbacks there. Of course, receiver depth takes a hit. So I don't know. You get a stretch of BYU schedule that goes, or I'm sorry, just their road opponents, but some of these are back-to-back. At Arkansas, at Kansas, at TCU, at Texas, at West Virginia. They close with Oklahoma State on the road. Kelly likes Texas Tech. I agree with her there. They have to play Texas Tech at home. They have to play Oklahoma. I don't see how that team wins more than 5 games. Like that, they're, in my opinion, going to probably bring up the rear in this conference this year. And so that would be my strongest Big 12 opinion. Really one of my only ones, although I do think Kansas State's win total was a little inflated. I don't have like a huge opinion on K-State, but and I'll agree with Kelly. UCF showing the most promise of the newcomers.
Real quick, I would like to just touch on that really quick. I agree with Adam. 8.5 wins. K-State should win 9 games. But the Troy game concerns me. The at Oklahoma State, then back-to-back at Texas Tech, they're going to only be like a 1-point favorite at Texas Tech. And I like Texas Tech a lot. 4.5-point favorites at TCU. The Texas game, I think they're going to be like probably 9-point underdogs, which is the only game I'm slated to go to right now. They'll be 6-point favorites at Kansas. K-State is going to replace Deuce with Trayshawn Ward from Florida State. I thought it was going to be DJ, who was the guy that was playing behind Deuce, but Trayshawn won that starting spot. I think he's going to be good. Is he going to be as good as Deuce? I think Deuce is a really dynamic player just because of his short stature. Darren Sproles 2.0. The offensive line is going to be really good. And that's the good news for Will Howard. Mm-hmm. Let's see if he can keep it under control. Everybody with the Heisman talk. In theory, this team could absolutely win 10 games again. But as a K-State fan, I've seen this a couple too many times. And getting in late November, they get that target on their back. They're probably going to drop 1 or 2. 8 games is probably the bottom unless all hell just breaks loose with injuries and so forth. But yeah, I agree with Adam. I don't like that season win total at all.
Well, Cal, she made a really good point that is part of the reason you can't, like, we handicap football games, and every time I hear, it's not just us, and it's like whoever's on social, like, people break down football games, and it's like people always gravitate toward the star player, the playmaker, so on and so forth. You just have to bet teams with good offensive lines and fade teams with bad offensive lines. Sometimes it's that, at least like out of principle, and then add in all the other stuff. But you can't, like, it can't be understated like how important a good offensive line is. And then on the flip side, like, another reason I don't like BYU is they've got, they lose 3 starters on their offensive line. The reason I don't like the Patriots, offensive lines in tatters, right? Like, so Kansas State, if they can sort of just like lean on that good offensive line, they could have a great season. And that would be the reason why.
Zeno, jump in here, man. Anything in closing on college football?
I want to jump to the Big Ten here real quick, just because I've been studying this for the last 24 hours, and Trig knows this because I put it in our group chat. The Maryland Terrapins here, over 7.5 wins. I have diced this team up and down a little bit. Look, they're going to have an elite offense with Tua Tagovailoa. But like Kelly said, there's a story I've seen with Maryland before that sort of scares me. And there's 1 or 2 contests late that sort of have me a little bit questioning this whole thing here. This team could feasibly start out 5-0, end up, somewhere in the top 25 ranked with an offense that looks fantastic before they go to Ohio State and get absolutely raped. Happens to them every time they play them. But, for them on their schedule, it's absolute losses at Ohio State, at home against Penn State, and Michigan. However, Michigan's in an ultimate sandwich spot there, guys. They have Penn State the week before, and they have Ohio State the week after Maryland. So, not that I think Maryland's necessarily going to win that game, just a bad spot for the Wolverines there going forward. What I really have a problem questioning here is that November 11th game at Nebraska, because I just have no idea what Nebraska's going to be. Like, could Matt Rule have the offense figured out by, the end of October, beginning of November, and all of a sudden, Maryland, who tends to fall apart in the second half of every single year after a fast start, that's a game like I circle that they have to win in order for this to go over. I think they should be able to beat Illinois at home, even though Illinois' defense is very good. Illinois lost some key players. Obviously, Devin Witherspoon went to the NFL. They get an upgrade at quarterback for the Illini. But it could come down to Nebraska and Rutgers, 2 road games at the end of the year. And, I think they should be able to beat Rutgers, but Maryland has never really finished strong. That's why this is juiced to the under. But I feel like I'm getting such a good price. I got to hammer out a couple of more things here, but I really feel like I'm probably going to get to the window here on the Terrapins over 7.5 wins. Their schedule sets up very favorably. It's kind of weird. They have, once they get after the first 3 weeks, they go road home, all the way through the end of the rest of the year. They have no other back-to-back road games. So it's favorable for them. I think we can get there on it, but it certainly is a gamble given the way I've seen Maryland finish some seasons every single year, especially under Mike Loxley the last couple of years.
Mark Zeno, check them out, wagertalk.com. Kelly Stewart, Adam Trigger, I am Drew Martin. Guys, a reminder, before we get to best bets, we are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Promo code HUSTLE20 at checkout takes 20% off your order. Viva Tequila Seltzer, refreshing and drinkable hard seltzer, 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5% ABV. Viva, the perfect drink for your pre or post-game celebrations, as it was created with the active lifestyle in mind. Best bets for tonight, Baltimore Orioles. Taking some money here, up about a dime since the opener. So minus 133, the low water mark here. Jack Flaherty on the hill, went 6 innings, 1 earned run last time out. He's up against Christian Javier for the Astros. I think a lot of bettors out there seeing Astros getting plus money, liking them. Not so fast, my friends. Christian Javier, he's in a funk right now. Overall season numbers are okay. But you go till the end of June. Go back till the end of June, guys. His ERA is over 8. He's given up 3 runs or more in all of his starts since then, outside of facing the Athletics. I think the Orioles jump on him. So Orioles minus 133 is my best bet tonight. Going around the horn here, Kelly Stewart. Check her out, wagertalk.com, at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Hey, you're probably already following her. Everybody is. Kelly, any final thoughts out there and any best bet?
Yeah, final thoughts. My dog got almost 120,000 impressions yesterday from a sleeping photo. So I had to laugh at some of my haters for that. Johnny Detroit told me like 6 years ago, he's like, you need to make her a Twitter so she has more followers than some of these guys. And yeah, that actually happened yesterday. I just thought I was just trying to be funny because I'm like, how many sleeping photos does Coco in Vegas need? She's snoring right now. Shocking she's not driving me crazy to eat dinner. I do not have a best bet for tonight. Obviously, I do not bet baseball. But if I had to give you guys my favorite season win total from the AFC East, it'd be the Jets under 9.5 wins. But I do think the Dolphins, and you can find 3-1, as I mentioned, at Superbook Sports. Pretty much everywhere else is like plus 275 or plus even 255 for the Dolphins to win the AFC East. So either John Murray knows something I don't know, or I don't know. I really think that is a 2-horse race to win the AFC East. And I think the Dolphins getting a 3-1 is nice value. And what else do I have? That's about it. I got to put up all my season win totals and division bets, Super Bowl, all that such, starting tonight. So next 32 days, going to have 32 NFL videos leading up until NFL kickoff. So excited. We got a busy next couple of weeks. We're all going to Vegas. I am unfortunately going to be there for 10 whole days, which is not exactly ideal, but we're going to have a great time. I'm excited to see a bunch of people, and Wager Talk meet and greet will be at Stadium Swim. We're also going to have the golf tournament at the Las Vegas Country Club for all the golfer guys. And I'm going to eat at Barry's at least 3 times in the 10 days. Of course I am. But yeah, that's all I got to report.
That's a lot to report. Excited for Vegas as well. I'm going out on Tuesday, guys. So if you're in town, hit us up at Kelly in Vegas. Oh, yeah. You're going on Wednesday, like
117. Right? Yeah, I don't get it until Thursday. It's better for me that way. The less I'm there, the less trouble I can get into.
Kelly, would you rather 117 in Nevada or 100 in Florida?
Okay, so I was just in North Central Florida where my dad lives. It's way hotter up there because he's not on the water, so there's no breeze. It is like he's just outside of Gainesville. It is the swamp for real. So much so that I got in the dunk tank the other day at the bar, but that was for the veterans. That wasn't really to cool off, but had it been like another situation, some guy, I was like, I'll get in there for $200 and he slaps down $200. I'm like, well, there's a donation for everybody. I guess I don't have a swimsuit, so I'm just going to do it fully clothed. And no, I did not post any pictures of that on Instagram because I look like a drowned rat, like black mascara streaks down my face and all. But we had a great time. And as again, it's for the vets. But here, south of Tampa, it is a lot cooler in 100 degrees because there's a lot of that breeze coming off the ocean. So whenever you get that like cool ocean air, if you will, or cooler air, it's not as bad and it's not stagnant humidity. Does that make sense? Like Vegas, It's like you sit down in your black leather car seat, and if you're in shorts, you're going to burn your ass, like literally burn the back of your leg. That doesn't happen here in Florida. At least that doesn't happen to me. I don't know why, but I think it's just a different type of heat.
The differences between living in Las Vegas and living in the Sunshine State. Adam Trigger, I don't believe you would know, but hey, you know the New York heat. Guys, follow him on Twitter at TopFlightSI, WagerTalk.com. Trig, final thoughts, best bet?
Well, Drew, I remember I was living like right down the road from you for like 2 months that time when I was down in Hollywood, and
then you never came back, and you talked about this nice condo and on the beach, and then it's just like
we still have the condo, but then I bought a house in Syracuse. So like, what are you gonna? Or I bought a house in New York. So what are you gonna do? But the condo is in my family, whatever. But it was hot. Like, I don't like the heat. So as soon as like when I got down there in like March, early April, that was fine. Once it got to like late May, June, I was like, no, I can't. This is too much for me. I don't like extremes in either direction. I don't need it. If I don't like when it's 100, I don't like when it's below 0. I probably belong in like the Pacific Northwest or something where it's like 60 every day. That's probably
San Diego. Maybe.
I think you'd fit in really well there, Trig.
Why would you say that, Cal? Why would I fit in well there? That makes 0 sense. But but it's again just an erroneous comment right there. But what she's got me all flustered now. I don't even know what I was saying. I'm going to give my best bet now. Here's what I was going to say. I gave this out, so I locked this in 4% play, and I knew I wanted to do something with this game. So I had a 4%er on the Rockies this afternoon. That was an extra innings when we got on the show. I wanted to see what was going to happen with that. Like, I felt like it was going to win. If I got daggered by like the walk-off homer, I probably was just going to slam my laptop and quit the show for the day. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Rockies end up covering the 1.5. They lose 7-6 in extra innings. Now I've got 3 Major League Baseball wins in a row. And I said, you know what? I really wanted to bet the Diamondbacks plus 1.5 today. Earlier today, it was not at a price that I could do so, but the Dodgers keep taking money. Our buddy AK Zeno, our friend Aaron Kidd texted me. He said, Trig, I just found Diamondbacks plus 1.5 minus 130. I was like, that's amazing. That's what I wanted. I went and looked. I had to take minus 138 in the, as far as like consensus line, what everyone can get, but shop around. If you can find D-backs plus 1.5 minus 130, that's a great number. And that's my bet. And that's what I added for a 4% play. I like them to win here. They still haven't won in August, which is incredible. But this was a team that was 52-39 on July 9th. And now they're 500. They're 5-18 since the All-Star break. It's the worst record in Major League Baseball. But some of that has to do with the pitching. A 5.92 team ERA in the second half so far is the worst in Major League Baseball. That's where I think they're probably a play on going forward because they've started to tweak the pitching, and I think the hitting is going to eventually come around because it's baseball, right? Like, teams go through slumps, teams come back, but notably, they called up Brandon Pfaadt. He's been pitching well. And then Merrill Kelly, the guy that's going to start this game, he was out for a month with a blood clot in his leg. I think it was like a calf injury, blood clot. He's come back. He pitched great over the weekend. So if I look at that, I say, okay, the reason for the 5-18 run has a lot to do with the fact that they have the worst team ERA in the majors since the beginning of the second half. Now I'm getting Merrill Kelly, who's got a 3.21 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP, one of the best marks of any starter in the National League. this season. And over the weekend, he looked great against the Twins. I think he pitched Friday night, 9 strikeouts, 6 innings, 2 runs, no decision. He wasn't the reason they lost that game. So, an insane stat here, Drew, that I think people are it's picking up some traction. And I think this is why people are so willing to bet the Dodgers. Merrill Kelly in 14 career starts against the Dodgers is 0-10 with a 5.45 ERA. And he's never beat them. 0-10, 14 career starts. But this season, he's only given up 2 runs in 9.1 innings against them. And this is arguably shaping up to be Merrill Kelly's career year. If he continues at this pace. Bobby Miller is a rookie. He's solid, but he hasn't been as good since the All-Star break as he was in the first half. I just don't think Bobby Miller in this spot deserves to be laying a run and a half. And Merrill Kelly is the better starting pitcher here. The Dodgers, despite the fact that the Dodgers have played so well and they won last night, Arizona still battled back to get the money against the +1.5. And they were 5-3 against the Dodgers going into last night's game. So they do play well against this team, and they do, they seem to be able to hit Dodgers pitching. I put all that together, and there's just no way that Arizona should be getting a run and a half here. I think this is where Arizona finally breaks this losing streak. But if they don't, I think they end up close again. So I took the +1.5. I bit the bullet and laid the -138 juice. I think you should shop around because I think like Aaron did, you'll probably find -130 or -135. But I do think it's a winner. So Diamondbacks 4% play +1.5. And that's all I got. Probably too long for Kel, but I think I got a winner there, and that offsets everything right there.
He brings a winner for the hustle. Okay. In the nightcap on the diamond, last not least here, Mark Zeno. Check him out. wagertalk.com.
Drew, that's
Zeno,
going to take a while. I've been practicing my Zeno as well because I got Zeno from you, and Trick would call him Zeno, and I'm like, Trick, your weird New York accent, like, where are you getting Zeno? It's Zeno. And he goes, nah, Cal, it's Zeno. And so I finally just asked before the show that day. I was like, can somebody please explain this to me? Trick actually gets to be right for once.
I was sandbagging you, Kel, on purpose, so Trig could actually be right. So there you go. It was all part of my evil scheme. All right, a couple of things. Best bet again, Buffalo Bills. Any plus money Buffalo Bills to win a division for me is good enough. I think it's an absolute steal. And I'll back up Trig here. If you guys watch my Twitter videos, you can all see me on the Wager Talk YouTube channel with the long and the short of it. On the long list today was the Dodgers D-backs first 5 under. I don't think D-backs can win this game without limiting the Dodgers from scoring, so I'm kind of in simpatico with Trig there. But best bet for the night, oh boy, this is ugly. You know how sometimes, guys, you just can't find a price that you like on a game, so you have to kind of search and dig? Well, that's what I did tonight with the Atlanta Braves. You ready for this? This makes me want to vomit, but I feel really good about it. Braves -1.5 in the first 5 because it is the only manageable number out there. Yes, Kelly, exactly that face. It's the only manageable number out there, but here's the deal. Okay, Max Fried is on the mound for his second start since coming back from the injured list. Last time out, he went 6 innings, didn't give up a single stinking run to the best team in the second half this year so far in the Chicago Cubs with the best offense. Now he faces the Pittsburgh Pirates. He likely has to give up 1 or 0 runs here, but I feel really confident that he's going to be able to do it against Pittsburgh. Pirates starter Quinn Priester. This rookie has made 4 starts, hasn't lasted to 5 innings in any of them, and given up at least 3 runs. Oh, by the way, the Braves have the second best offense in baseball this year in the second half coming out of the break behind the Cubs. So they're going to score. Our good friend Ariel Epstein took the Braves team total over 5.5 tonight, which made me feel a lot better about this because the Braves are going to tattoo this young kid, unfortunately. They're going to do it early. Ronald Acuna is in the lineup tonight after getting hit last night. So I know this is a gross way to play this, but I always hold to the maximum first 5s. If they ain't scoring early, they likely ain't scoring late. And if the Braves, who really kind of been shut down a little bit early in this series, I think their bats roll over from last night. Pirates take a devastating loss, giving up, 3 or 4 runs in the top of the 9th. I think that carries over for the Braves. You get a favorable number here at like -110, -112. Braves -1.5 first 5 best bet.
Team total over 5.5 too. Shout out to Ariel Epstein, Mark Zeno, Adam Trigger, Kelly in Vegas, Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, Drew Martin at Drew Martin Bets on Twitter. That's going to do it for the show. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Please smash that like button. please comment below. Let us know what you're betting, where you agree, where you disagree. Your thoughts, college football, NFL preseason, all is welcome here. And check out VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Hustle20 at checkout takes 20% off your order. Our belief is to live long, live well, and live it up. Viva up. WagerTalk.com. Check out the free picks page. Premium picks available as well. That does it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk next week.